Hey, Nasu here. Today I'm going to do my part 1 of My Hero Academia RPG. Or what if My Hero Academia was like an RPG. In the last part I basically explained the world and stuff like that. Now I'm going to start explaining the start of life that Deku had. When he was born, instead of having a natural states of 4 strength around, from 1 to 10 strength, from 1 to 10 defense, 1 to 10 intelligence, 1 to 10 um, magic, 1 to 10 speed, and the last one was from 1 to 10 in. Wait a second, the last one was. Okay, yeah, the last one is basically called power, simply, which this stats actually goes with your unique skill or quirk. If you do not have a quirk, that skill stays at 0. If you do have one, it's higher than that. For Deku, that thing, he's at 2. Um, but for everything else, he basically has 12 for that. For strength, defense, speed, magic, stamina, and everything like that. The reason for that is that he is an alpha. So, he was born an alpha. Um, his hair are still green, except that this time they have a red flaming pattern on them. So green with red flames on his hair, which was the first thing that made them say, okay, he's an alpha. Basically seeing the stats, the hair, and they don't know yet for what his quirk will be because he's going to develop it a little later. Well, he already has it, but it kind of won't show until he's actually able to use it. So for now, they know he's going to have one since he has 2 in power stat. Um, One thing I should say about All Might is that he still has One for All. It can be passed down, that's why he has so much power. And people think that he is or a royal, which they call the males king and the female queens. But when you talk about the species in general, they're called royals. They think he's or that or an alpha. Reason being that his stats are extremely high for normal people. For his level, he's around level like 300, but still his stats are way higher than what someone should be. The reason for that is that in this one, what One for All does is basically like the boost of an Alpha, Omega, Royal, or stuff like that. Um, but kind of different at the same time. It gives you a small part of the power the previous user had, just like for One for All. Except that this one, instead of just giving you the strength and speed of the previous user, it basically gives you every stats that it had. power precisely doesn't increase that much since you still have to learn how to control your quirk as well as this one. Um, but One for All at the same time boosts the stats of the user by a certain amount depending on what's happening. So one last thing I should say before about the world. Well, actually three last things because there's some things that I hadn't decided yet. Um, they do have potions, which I had decided, but there's also something else they have, which is natural regeneration that help them with their HP. They can still be disabled or stuff like that if they only let their natural regeneration mm, be used. Like, let's say you lose an arm. Your regeneration will make it so that it's healed once you have 100 HP, but you won't have your arm again. You're literally going to have the scar. While if you use a potions, well, if you actually lose an arm, you need or a 75% or higher potion. So, to actually make it regrow. Or there are special types of magic that are made for that, and basically like that. Some monster species actually have regeneration capacity that actually let them regrow completely their parts, just like demons and stuff like that. Human can get quirks that help with that, or get special skills for different things. But most of the time, they need a potion, so a lot of adventurers have like motion problem when they go and fight that are way too high for them and that they don't have potions to heal themselves fast enough. What I was having trouble deciding was if the natural regeneration of humans for their health would actually regrow limbs. I decided not to. Another thing was that I called the bad guys evil doers because I hadn't actually decided on a name yet. The name they will have are dark dark adventurers, and there are some dark guilds. Dark guilds are basically just groups of dark adventurers that basically get together and basically try to do as much evil as possible. Sometimes dark guilds aren't actually bad truly, but they still do bad things. So not that bad. So basically they range from people who actually just think something is really too bad and they don't want to be with a guild. Well, at the guild halt. So they make that and they try to get money by selling monsters that they kill. And it ranges from that all the way to people who just hates everything else and just wants to watch a world burn. So yeah. Okay, so for the start of Deku's life, um, he was already branded as an alpha because of what they knew about him. So just as at his first school, basically, which they still do have schools and stuff like that before adventure school. What they teach people is like math, French, about monsters and stuff like that. as well how to control their skills, unique skills, magic, and how to train. For if you want to become an adventurer, or you can take classes to basically learn another well, basically if you want to be like a cook or a librarian or something like that, basically you can learn that as well. So yeah, basically that's the normal school, basically. Sometimes they do small expedition to go kill basically small slimes and stuff like that, to train their quirks and to gain levels. They don't do that a lot, and mostly they don't actually do it for money. Sometimes the school still gets money for stuff like that, like, oh, there's been an increase in slime population, or someone lost something, and if you're able to find it, we'll give you money for it, and blah blah blah, but it doesn't really happen that often. So, Bakugo is basically a normal human with his own quirk, explosions, and he still has high stats for a normal human, since normally well, it always ranged for a normal human from 1 to 10 in everything except power. His power is, well, he was born with a power of 3, and his normal stats were basically all 9s. Plus strength is 10. So he is lower than Deku, but he still is pretty close, even though he's a normal human. The gap will get really big anyway, until something happens, but you'll get it later. So, for the start of Deku's life, basically, what he wanted to do was learn as much as about monsters as possible, because at around age 4, you can finally in one of the special mirrors see what skills unique skills the person has. Before that, it's basically impossible unless they are able to use it. So Predator, that's what they see that he has. Um, an adventurer was, well, a group of adventurers, or the guild masters and the master of the guild hall. They were basically called in to basically ask about this one because they'd never heard about it. And one of the Adventurers Guild basically said that, oh, we actually saw a monster with that skill. It was a slime, but it seemed to be able to eat stuff and then gain their powers and capacities. Yes, it's a nod to Rimuru, but it's not truly him. Because what they say is basically that they assessed what he was, saw his skill, that he had a unique skill, and they saw how he was doing. The slime wasn't intelligent enough to actually use it to his advantage. Like, he was able to grow wing from eating a bird, but that's basically all they saw. It was able to kind of fly, but it was too dumb to do anything. So, Deku knows about what his quirk does. Just like Bakugo does too, since he can basically use it. So, for him, what they decide to do is just tell him, well, when you go on small expedition, just kill stuff, basically, and eat it. So while at school one day, basically he ate a bug, just because, oh, I'm going to try my quirk. Well, let's say it was like the next day. Let's say the bug was a type of beetle. Deku gained. Firstly, Deku will have a storage as well as Todoroki. Um, the reason Todoroki will have one is because he is classed as a king. Since if I don't count Deku, there's going to be an alpha, an omega, a king, and a queen in the class. I'm already telling you about the king that will be there, which is Todoroki. His hair will be completely silver instead of red and white. No, you know what? It's going to be gold and platinum. To at least still keep the half and half hairstyle. So, try to find the others. There's one person that actually knows them since I talked to him about it. But yeah, basically what Deku gained from eating the beetle was three different skills that aren't really unique because there's skills that are to a specific species normally. Well, to specific species, which he can grow wings, turn into a giant scarabee. Well, in French it's scarabée. Beetle, thank you. Sorry about that. He can basically grow beetle wings, or change part of his body into it, so have a carapace to protect himself, grow wings, turn into a half waypoint like a Zoan from One Piece, or fully, which he can be or tiny, like a normal one, or a bigger one that's basically the same, roughly the same size that he is. Which people were basically amazed by that since your quirk is awesome. Which he's able to fly thanks to it, to the wings and stuff. Um, Later he's going, mm, well, practically, they started teaching, and well, someone created a specific type of magic that basically allows people to see their own stat whenever they want. In the third generation, they are the fourth, so they're going to learn about it. There's the scan magic that basically allows people to scan what's in front of them as long as they're able to see it. Normally, people use that if they don't have the mirror on hand. Um, Still, the only thing that can be um, hidden by any types of those is the unique skill. So All Might's still able to hide his even if someone tries to see him. So basically that's how he keeps it a secret. So he looks as if he doesn't have a quirk, but he still has a power stat of like 400 or something like that. So they don't get how. Um, so basically for Deku and Bakugo, they became friends in this one since nobody really insult people without quirk, since everyone know they need everyone else. People without quirks can or be really good adventurers, or merchants and other stuff like that, which nobody actually bothers them since it actually is needed. So those that bully people are basically those that or have a quirk that they think is way higher league than anyone else, like Bakugo. Oh, but he was with someone whose quirk basically is, if I can eat a part of you, I'm I can use your quirk. So he doesn't really see himself as the best, since he just needs to eat like a piece of my hair or something, and he can use my quirk, which Deku doesn't want really to. He doesn't really want to do right now. He probably will later, but I'm not sure. Or if he does, because basically well, to be honest, he won't actually eat any human parts, so he won't get one for all that I'm saying it outright. So, in multiple small expedition, let's say small lizards and stuff like that he ate, he never ate slimes simply because he thought it was weird at first. Later he will, but not right now. So basically, we do a time skip to when he's 8. Um, Leveling up is kind of hard when you don't actually train or do stuff like that. But Bakugo and Deku trained a lot, but like to a huge point. Both of them want to increase their strength as much as possible, as well as their intelligence. Deku's increasing a lot faster than Bakugo, even though Bakugo trained a lot more. Basically, Bakugo has 10 level over Deku. He's basically level 40, while Deku's level 30. No. Bakugo's level 80, Deku 70, when normal people are around level 30-40 at this point. Deku still has more stats than Bakugo, and by this point, Deku's skill list and unique skills list is basically Fire Body from a special types of bat that can actually be on fire if it wants to. Um, he can grow um, bat wings as well. He has a vampirism thanks to it as well. He ate part of multiple different lizards, which all gave him skills. One lizard specifically is called a Niren lizard. His scales are basically made of iron, and the one he ate precisely had the capacity to shape his body. So he basically has right now the capacity of a Iron Dragon Slayer, except that he doesn't eat iron. He cannot breed iron, but he can turn his entire body into it and make swords, hammers, and stuff like that. That's basically what he can do. He can grow wings and a tail by eating different types of lizard. His two strongest scales are basically from the iron lizard, and the other one is from a lizard called lava lizard. Basically, they can put lava around their body and harden it to make obsidian, and then break it to get away. Well, not really break it, but eat it back, since those lizards eat rocks and molten lava and obsidian and stuff like that. Basically, Deku has their scales, which is extremely resistant to heat, and basically around just under the strength of iron. So he's not that level yet, but he is pretty close with that one. He has both, but he can only use one at a time right now. Um, Another species he ate by this point is a floral monster that basically looks like a Bulbasaur, but it's not really that. It's like a type. It's a type of rabbit that has plants on their back and basically attacks people. That's why I say like Bulbasaur. I actually saw the um, resemblance after doing it, and I was like, wait, that's Bulbasaur. But yeah, so what he has is basically that capacity, making plants on his around his body and attacking with it. He cannot become plants. Um, since he ate it from a rabbit species of that. He can also grow rabbit's ears and jump extremely high and far. He doesn't really eat all that much of monsters, simply because he doesn't actually go out that often to fight them, since they have like 3 or 4 adventures by school year, and he only had 4. And it's not on all of them that they actually fight something new. So he still found a lot of things, but yeah, he fought a lot of slimes, but he never ate them, simply because, well, he thinks they're disgusting. He will soon anyway, because at when they're 8 is basically the moment where All Might gets hurt. Yes, he's going to meet All Might a lot earlier, but he's not going to train with him, and he won't even know that it's All Might, in fact. The reason that I'm saying that this happens is because Izuku gets into a fight by against someone, and by accident, what the person is capable of doing is actually send air slash. Um, Basically, he needs to place his arm over his head and charge it. The longer he stays like this, the more powerful the attack is when he unleashes it. Basically, the guy was just kind of laying around with his hand over his head. Deku came up in front of him. The guy wasn't thinking because he was basically just kind of sleeping, and he kind of placed himself like that without knowing. He woke up and just kind of slashed his hand forward to kind of get up and caught Deku's arm. They were basically, um, he was basically at the hospital. They were reattaching his arm with a special type of magic. All Might's injury is still too bad for that type of magic, because nobody's high enough level to actually do that, or has enough power behind that magic to do it. Which All Might basically looks at. Well, basically, All Might asks him how he did that, because let's say All Might in his skinny form was basically in. Basically, let's say they were placed by accident in the same room, like twin rooms, and All Might didn't buff up, and they were careful with that, but they kind of by accident placed someone else in his room. And he basically asked Deku what happened to him. He explained. Toshinori told him that he should be more careful next time. Izuku asked him why he is there, and All Might decides to actually show him the injury and tells him that he was attacked by someone and that they did that to him, and they aren't able to heal him because magic isn't high enough. Then All Might just kind of says that a healing quirk would be way more useful for him, since he basically saying he doesn't have a quirk, and if he had a healing quirk, it would be really good for him. It would have probably helped him with that. Then he asked Izuku what his quirk is. Izuku explained what his quirk can do, and that every time he eats a monster, he gains their unique skills and unique skills if they have one. Which All Might then ask him, why didn't you eat a slime then? They can regenerate any part of their body. And they're all around out in the small forest, ponds, and stuff like that. You should have been going outside when you were young, right? Which Deku then just said, yeah, but I don't want to eat that. It feels weird. Which All Might says, well, if you had it, from what I get, you want to be an adventurer, right? You need to put all the chances on your side, and having the capacity of regeneration from a slime, you would become a lot stronger, as well as being able to regenerate. Which Deku kind of takes and just thinks he's right. Which All Might then looks at him correctly and asks, are you an alpha? Or something like that. Which Deku kind of just says, oh, yeah, I'm an alpha. Um, so, you, are you a royal? Your hair are golden. Which All Might responds, no, he was born with that, but he isn't an alpha or a royal. He's just normal human without a quirk. His dad, basically, let's say that his dad was a royal, and he just thinks he got the hair color from that. Which Deku kind of just tells him, well, hope you get better soon. I need to go now. Well, not now, but basically it's like they told him to wait in that room for now until he's able to leave, and they just came to take him and told him that he can go back to his house. So Deku, while being at his house, basically asked his mom if he could go kill a slime, since eating one will be a lot more helpful. Which she basically thinks, yeah, it doesn't really matter, he's strong enough. Since basically he's level 70 and his stats are kind of high, I should say. A human that only trains needs to be level 60 to be able to only trains in strength, needs to be level 60 to have about 200, and he trained in everything, but to a point that is pretty high. His stats are basically around 230 for strength, 240 for defense, stamina around 212. Magic is a little higher than that, with a whopping 300, simply because most of the thing he was reading was actually about magic. Intelligence just under that with 298. Speed is actually in the middle with a 260. And power is now at around a just under a 90, basically 89 or 88. Bakugo's stats are right under his for everything. They basically did the same training, but Bakugo was training more, but getting less since he's not an alpha. So he basically has like 5% less than Deku for everything, except for his power that he has at 92, to still be higher than Deku's. So, yeah. Deku level 70, Bakugo 80, and Deku finally went and ate a slime, which he really found disgusting. Um, Deku already is able to transform into the form of the species he had, so if he wants now he can transform into slime. But now he can apply something new. Because the slime that he ate had a quirk called Chimera. What it does is basically that species that it's basically like Predator, but the difference is that the species that he eats give him a small part of their stats as well as modify its body itself directly, and basically it can place two or more um, body part of different species, so it's not intelligent enough to do anything with it, but Deku is. What Deku can do now is basically take, let's say, the carapace of the beetle, the wing of the lizard, the fire capacity of the fire bath, and combine all of that to make himself a new form. And now every time he eats something, he can gain 1 point in the highest stat that that being has. Later it's going to be more, but for now it's only going to be that. Simply because he's going to be way too powerful later anyway. Mostly after a certain thing that will happen. And mostly when one specific thing happens, since there's going to be a lot for him to do. So he's basically at age 8, and now we pass all the way up until before the 10 months of training. Which, the difference in this one is that the sludge villain, which is still classed as a human, since they can just scan it and species is basically written there. And they always scan anything that's in the city before attacking it, since if it's a human, they don't want to kill it. So the sludge villain basically looks like a slime, but isn't. Also, Deku learned to actually use his slime body, as well as Predator together, to use it basically like Rimuru at this point. He doesn't like doing it most of the time, he actually wants to fight against monsters and stuff. If he's overwhelmed, then he's going to eat them like that. So, at first, basically, the teacher asked them, okay, so what do you want to do? Then he throws the paper in the air saying, who am I kidding, you all want to be adventurers. He looks at it and, oh, Bakugo, you want to go at UA? Which basically, he's like, well, yeah, it's the best place around. Which the teacher basically keeps looking. Then, oh, Izuku, you want to go too? Good. The two top students. That's going to be perfect. Oh yeah, I should also say, Deku found out about his storage capacity, since most people, some people actually has it, and it's classed in the unique skills. Well, no, not unique skills, but skills. He found out about it at age 9, I forgot to say that, because at some point someone actually scanned him and went down the entire list of things. So, storage is basically a skill that allows you to store any amount of things that you want. There's no limit to it, so basically he never has to bring anything with him. And if he wants, he can basically just do like in a video game, go in his storage and just switch clothes. So when he left, he did pass. Him and Bakugo walked together. They passed where the sludge villain attacked. Um, Deku basically started fighting against the sludge villain, basically turning into a slime, well, turning part of his body into slimes, part to basically be able to fight him. All Might arrived, blasted the villain, and then while they were talking, All Might gave an autograph. Then Deku was actually called um, with a communication spell by his mom to say to come right now since she needs him. He said bye to All Might and Bakugo and left, and Bakugo then, still being really happy since adventurers actually also act like heroes in the cities if there's something happening. So it's not out of reason that it happens. And he is classed as the number one adventurer in the entire town, almost the entire continent, simply because of the power he has. Which Bakugo asks him how he can train better because he tells him that his friend is an alpha, and even though his level is weaker than his, he is stronger. And with his core unique skills Predator, he's basically always in front of him. Which All Might hearing that basically remembers the kid and is like, is your friend named Izuku Midoriya? Which Bakugo answers yes, normally. How do you know him? Which All Might says that, oh, I actually heard him talk at some point about his quirk to someone. Um, so, you want to be stronger than him, but why? What do you want to be? Which Bakugo explains that he wants to be an adventurer, but him and Deku were basically rivaled at first. Bakugo trained a lot more than Deku, but never was able to get over him. And it's not annoying to him. He knows that it's normal. It's just that he wants to be able to help Deku more. But since he's not stronger than him, it's kind of not really working out. Which All Might decided that, you know what? I'm going to help you. You seems like a good person. And then explains One for All to him and tells him that he's going to give him the unique skill that he's going to need to train, and that um, he must not use it for evil. Which Bakugo accepts, since with that I'm going to be able to help my friend. I'm going to be able to be a good adventurer. Because what they want to do is basically make a guild for themselves, go and get other people that are strong or weaker than most and help them get stronger, and then go on strong quests to basically be able to help as much as possible. Which both of them already wanted that, okay, when we're going to make the guild, we do a battle. And in that battle, the winner is the one who's going to be able to choose who, well, the guild master, well, the head of the guild. And basically, they can choose themselves or someone else. But yeah. So All Might decided to train him and then to give him One for All. So the next day, Bakugo told Izuku that for now they're going to stop training together. He's going to try and become stronger by himself for a while, which Izuku was okay with because, yeah, it's going to be fun for once. We're not going to be together all the time, and he's going to be able to train a lot more by himself, probably. So he's probably going to be able to improve, which Deku doesn't know at all how much that's true. But in that moment, Deku also decided that he was going to try and train as much as possible as well, and started going to the Guild Hall. Guild Hall. Thank you. Sorry about that. To do the no license quests. Basically, go take some items or go kill those low monsters and stuff like that to get money to basically be able to buy himself the materials and basically a blacksmith to actually do um, or an armor or a weapon, since they do get weapons in this world. Remember, it's not a normal world, it's an RPG for them. It's real world. For us, well, basically it's medieval, so weapons, sword, morning stars, and other things like that. So Deku wants to make himself specific weapons to help him, which after a bit you're going to see that might change for now, for what happens. So I'm going to leave it here. When I'm going to come back, well, in the next part, I'm going to place them after the 10 months of training, and I'm going to say the improvement that they did. Also, I said at the start of the episode that, well, in the episode, that All Might had a level of over 300. It's over 500. I don't freaking know why I said 300. Basically, his level is 583 to be exact. His stats are through the roof. Everyone think he's an alpha or a king. But yeah. So hope you liked it. Like I said, if we don't count Izuku, that's an alpha. There's going to be an alpha, an omega, a king, and a queen in class 1A. For the king, I already said it was Shoto, but try to find for the other three. King, queen, and omega are girls, and the alpha is going to be a guy. So try and find it. So yeah, hope you liked it. Leave a like if you did. Natsu out.